How did you realize that your family were the true monsters? Growing up, I believed that family betraying you was impossible. My parents beat it into me that they'd always love me no matter, and that I was their priority. So when I grew up and started paying their rent and covering all their groceries, I thought I was just being a good son. But then over time, it started getting a little crazy. Mom would call crying about how the electric bill was overdue, and she didn't know what they'd do. Dad would text me photos of broken appliances, asking if I could help cover repairs. My substance-addicted brother needed another rehab stint that insurance wouldn't cover. Every month, it was something new. My girlfriend Sarah kept pointing out that they only called when they needed money, never to check how I was doing or ask about my life. I'd work 70-hour weeks at my software job while they posted Facebook photos of their weekend trips to casinos. When I'd mention being stressed about finances, they'd remind me how much money I made and how I owed them for raising me. The breaking point came when they demanded $15,000 for a life or death emergency, but refused to tell me what it was for. Mom cried on the phone saying I'd be destroying the family if I didn't help. Dad guilt-tripped me about how they'd sacrificed everything for me growing up. Something felt wrong, but I gave them the money anyway because they made it sound so urgent. For weeks after, they acted weird around me, dodging my calls and whispering when I came over. Through social media, I could see everyone was living normally, so I couldn't figure out what emergency required 15 grand. I asked around, but nobody gave me a concrete answer, until a family friend of ours texted me calling me a piece of crap and telling me to rot in hell. I was confused, so I answered, but my message didn't go through. I was blocked. I asked my parents if they had any idea what that was all about, and I saw their faces turn. Quickly, my dad started telling me she was probably just going crazy, and my mother added she knew something wasn't right with that girl, but I didn't buy it. I kept asking around, until finally, a cousin I always got along with dropped the bomb. Turns out, about a month ago, my cousin Derek had been arrested for SA. And who did he SA? None other than that same family friend who texted me calling me a piece of crap. And why did she call me a piece of crap? Well, because the emergency 15 grand that was apparently life or death actually went to bailing my cousin out. I was horrified, shocked, but when I confronted my parents about it, they actually defended Derek, saying the girl had led him on and was ruining his life by pressing charges. I realized at that moment my family were nuts. I wasn't sure if I could even call the family anymore, so I decided to test whether my family actually loved me or just my money. I spent weeks creating an elaborate fake financial crisis. I made fake bank statements showing my crypto investments had crashed. I set up fake phone calls with creditors when my family might overhear me panicking about debt. Then I called a family meeting and broke the news. I told them I'd lost everything and was facing bankruptcy. I needed their emotional support and maybe financial help to get back on my feet. Their reactions were exactly what I feared. Mom instantly demanded I find a way to get the money back. Dad suggested I take out loans or sell my possessions to keep supporting them. My siblings got angry that I'd been irresponsible with money they considered theirs. Within days, they stopped answering my calls once they believed I was broke. And so, I called another family meeting a month later under the pretense of discussing my recovery plan. That's when I dropped the bomb. I revealed that I had plenty of money, but I would never give them another cent after they'd used me to bail out my predator cousin and then abandoned me the second I appeared financially worthless. Of course, the room exploded. They tried to gaslight me about their responses and demanded I keep supporting them regardless of my moral objections. My mom even stooped as low as suddenly claiming she had been diagnosed with cancer and now needed me more than ever. It was pathetic. I cut them off completely from that day on. And yes, in case you're wondering, I contacted the family friend who was a victim and apologized to her profusely. I explained everything, apologized, and helped her family fund a lawyer to build a case against my cousin. He got 3 years in prison, and seeing my parents' death glaring me in court as they saw my money being used against them was priceless.